Just fund our schools. Please just fund our schools.
Today on the Morning Edition, a student's plea and a legislative showdown. The bill to boost education spending passed, but this morning it's up to the governor to sign it or fulfill the promise of a veto. Plus, a harvest hit hard. Federal funding cuts could shrink paydays for Alaskan farmers just as they gear up for growing season. How it could impact food banks, schools, and farms across the state. And later,
a historic day. I'm Karen Hua here in West Texas to see the first ever female group go into space. We're counting down until the crew, including pop star Katy Perry and CBS's own Gayle King, take off.
History in the making indeed. That is so cool, and we're actually going to take a live look at that once it starts to lift off in just a few minutes.
Wow, I might say I'm a little jealous there.
Yeah, you've always wanted to go to space.
I know, and Gayle King gets to go up there, Katy Perry, and maybe one of us one day.
Yeah, pretty cool. Well, the wind outside nearly woke me up in the middle of the night last night. So what's going on with that?
Yeah, we've seen those winds. They have winds. They have peaked through the overnight hours. Here through at least the next 2 to 4 hours, we'll continue to hold on to some of those gusty conditions. And you can see here in Anchorage, those winds are gusting upwards of about 25 miles per hour. Now, those south to southeasterly winds, those were our warming winds, which have kept us on the warmer side through the night. As a result, you can see those temperatures sitting in the mid to upper 30s as we start off your Monday morning. Now, the vast majority of South Central, the peak winds have died down. You can see here within the last hour, Anchorage is really the only location where we've seen some of those stronger wind gusts. But they will still remain with us for the next couple of hours. That high wind warning for the Anchorage Bowl that does expire at 6 a.m. Notice not only here across South Central, but as you head out towards the Alaska range, where we're seeing a wind advisory that remains in effect through the afternoon hours. These winds rapidly die off through the mid-morning, early afternoon. So we are going to see the return to a lot quieter conditions as well as some sunshine across South Central. Now, later this afternoon into the evening, we could see some additional breezy winds pick right back up, but nowhere near those gusty conditions we did see through the overnight hours. And then by Wednesday and Thursday, as we watch our next system making an approach towards South Central, which will bring rain in the forecast, we're also watching those winds, which will once again increase as well. So for today, we are expecting to see those winds again steadily dying down through the afternoon hours. But you can see through the evening, we could see a brief uptick in some of that activity with winds of about 20 to 30 miles per hour to be expected. So still holding on to some of those gusty conditions. They died down this morning. You can see through the afternoon hours, can't rule out some spotty to isolated coverage. Our next best chance of seeing some rain arrives by the middle of the week. I'll have more on that in that 7-day forecast coming up.
Students across the state from the interior to South Central ended the week by walking out of classrooms protesting the lack of education funding in the state. New this morning, such a bill is on the desk of Governor Mike Dunleavy. It promises an increase of $1,000 for every Alaskan student at the cost to the state of more than $250 million every year. It's what these protesting students want, but Governor Dunleavy has promised a veto, calling the stripped-down bill a joke. Still, as Olivia Nordyke reports, some Alaskan students say the fight for their future is just beginning.
A full day of statewide, student-led walkouts, putting the pressure on state legislators to increase the base student allocation. Friday evening, House Bill 69 advanced through the Senate Finance Committee. After multiple iterations and amendments, the bill advancing to Governor Mike Dunleavy's office still mandates a boost of $1,000 to the BSA, leading to a total number of $6,960 per student in Alaska.
I know the bill before you looks very simple. It's 2 lines, but it's 2 lines of hope. It's hope that the kids at West High School are not going to leave their school without having an effective and wonderful theater program. It's hope that the elementary kids who attend school in the Lower Yukon School District, whose teacher wrote us all gushing about their incredible academic growth in literacy and math, don't backslide because their school is facing a $9 million budget deficit.
The bill that passed does not have any policy in it. It will only increase the BSA. Dunleavy posted on X the day before the bill passed, calling the stripped-down version of the bill a joke and promising an immediate veto if the version approved by the Senate Finance Committee crossed his desk. After Friday's passage, he wrote on social media again, calling the education funding amount way too high, especially when relying on falling oil prices. But some Alaskans are proud of the progress made. High school junior Ella Wheelis organized a walkout with her fellow students across the Anchorage School District.
I think a lot of students feel the same way. And that's one of the biggest things about the underfunding right now is that we're losing programs and we're losing things. And I have testified in front of the school board. I've testified to legislators. I've written to my senator, my representative. I've done everything I can, and it feels like it's not enough.
Wheelis has testified in Juneau to call for better education funding. She says Alaska schools have wanted for funding her entire educational career. Wearing red for Ed, students in Anchorage and Fairbanks walked out of classes Friday. As for Dunleavy's opposition to an increase, she has one thing to say.
Just fund our schools. Please just fund our schools. Fund our future, fund our students. It starts right here and it starts right now.
Olivia Nordyke, Alaska's news source.
Overriding a veto would require 40 of the 60 lawmakers to vote in favor during a joint session, but several legislators say that's unlikely. According to the Alaska Beacon, if the governor does veto the bill, as expected, lawmakers say they'll return to negotiations on a version with a smaller funding increase. Continued coverage from the interior. Fairbanks lawmakers returned home for a town hall Saturday. While attendees didn't bring up the education bill directly, questions about school funding were part of the conversation. Representative Will Stapp and Senator Scott Kawasaki covered several issues, later telling reporters that the $1,000 BSA boost helps offset years of inflation. Kawasaki, a Fairbanks graduate himself, said investing in students is crucial because they're the future leaders of Alaska.
When I was in the third grade, I was able to pick up a viola and learn an instrument. And nowadays, just because of the lack of state support for education, it meant that they've had to cut these types of programs, not just here in Fairbanks, but across the state. That's less of an opportunity for our children.
Kawasaki says he hopes the support of students and parents will be enough to override Governor Mike Dunleavy's vote to veto the bill. It's federal cuts that may see Alaskan farmers have smaller paydays this growing season and could hit local food programs. Funding for initiatives linking farms to schools and food banks has been slashed, impacting over $7 million in expected support. Farm advocates say without that money, plans will have to change.
So I know this fluctuation of having programs start and then going away, it's really hard to kind of plan your planting or growing around not knowing what's going to be there for purchasing.
The federal cuts are part of the president's promise to rapidly reshape the federal government. For a deeper dive into how the programs affect Alaska's economy, visit our website. Anchorage has seen more snowfall recently, but it's still been a tough season for ski areas. As Georgina Fernandez reports, low snowfall impacted how many people hit the slopes this year, and that impacts the bottom line.
Well, despite the fresh snow on the ground this week, it was a challenging year for those who work at ski areas. Here at Hilltop, the lifts are done running for the ski season after it wrapped up what they called a challenging year last month. This year, Hilltop's seeing between 10 to 15% fewer people than the last 2 years. That drop in numbers fell financially for the nonprofit, which relies on its annual ticket sales to stay open.
We just have to be mindful of where we're putting our money. Snowmaking is not a cheap endeavor. It's pretty expensive to have to remake snow on the hill. So we just have to watch where the money's going and how much is being spent.
Further south, Alyeska Ski Resort says it saw the second highest amount of in-state visitors on record, in addition to almost 14,000 more out-of-state visitors.
We're very fortunate with a robust snowmaking system to be able to operate all season long from the opening day through now with our man-made conditions. But now we've surpassed our annual season average of 650 inches to just a little over 700. So it's turning out to end on a really good positive note.
For now, here at Hilltop, their attention turns to getting these hills ready for summer activities to start, potentially in June. Georgina Fernandez, Alaska's news source.
A team from Texas is hoping to resume the search for a family lost at sea near Homer last summer. David, Mary, Colton, and Brantley Maynard were aboard a fishing boat that capsized in August. Despite extensive efforts, their bodies were never recovered. Now, a Texas-based canine search team has volunteered to help, and a community barbecue held Saturday in Temple, Texas, raised money to support the mission.
For them not to be here anymore, it's devastating for anybody, you know. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt for a while, you know, but we're here to let him know we're here to support him.
It'll be a relief for the family. The whole family will be grateful and thankful for everything they've done. All we can do is just wait and see, and when they go, see what happens.
Team Texas Canines, the group leading the effort, says searching in Alaskan waters will be a first for them, even with their specialized underwater equipment. They're looking to begin their search by late summer. After the break over the weekend, there was snow, wind, and a whole lot of gratitude. Alaska's first responders were honored with a day just for them and a wildlife center full of thanks. The celebration, the squad cars, and the smiles. Plus, the launch is set for 5:30, which is just moments away. Gail King is getting ready to blast off into history alongside an all-female crew aboard Blue Origin.
We're still holding on to that active and windy weather across South Central. I'll have more on that and the next chance of seeing some rain. But first, at sunrise, 6:40 in Anchorage, 5:47 in Juneau. Your full forecast is next.
Alaska's first responders were out in full force at the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center for First Responder Appreciation Day. Members of the Girdwood Fire Department, Alaska State Troopers, Anchorage Police, and more were at the event. Several first responders' vehicles were displayed out front of the center, and first responders got free entry for the day. Despite it being a windy and snowy day on the Turning an Arm, AWCC said they were glad to see so many come out.
You know, it's April in Alaska and winter showed up, but I have to say I'm super excited to see so many people coming out to hang out with all these guys behind me here. I'm fortunate to also be a lieutenant serving on the Girdwood Fire Department, so it's really cool just to see the communities come together.
Representatives of the different departments greeted guests who got the chance to get up close and personal with some of the vehicles, including one of Girdwood's newest fire trucks. Aaron, that's cool. I love the AWCC, so that looks like a lot of fun.
And as we know here in Alaska, we don't let the weather keep us from getting outdoors. And we did see some quieter conditions through parts of the weekend for inland areas. Coastal regions, though, certainly continue to hold on to that active wet weather where we've seen areas of rain and snow. Waking up this morning, we do have that winter weather advisory out towards southwestern parts of Kodiak. That expires at 8 a.m. That's as you head out towards Akiak, out towards Larson Bay, and then that high wind warning here in South Central for the Anchorage Bowl, that expires at 6 a.m. And then that wind advisory as you head through the Alaska range, that remains in effect through 1 p.m. So we do have some gusty conditions that remain with us through the Alaska range. We're talking about winds could gust as high as 65 miles per hour. So be prepared for that if you are driving through the pass heading into the interior later today. Even as you head through the interior, we're expected to see some gusty conditions sticking around, although nowhere near the winds that we'll see for the Alaska range. 29 degrees currently in McGrath, 27 in Nome, 18 in Dead Horse. Out towards southeast, we've got those temperatures in the 30s and the 40s, and also seeing those temperatures out towards the Aleutians sitting near freezing. We are seeing that active weather out towards Kodiak, southwestern parts of Kodiak, beginning to dwindle away. Still holding on to some light flurry activity, but really the bigger concern now is those winds that will be gusting out of the west, northwest, which will lead, or southwest, I should say, which will lead to some areas of some blowing snow. We've seen max winds here in the Anchorage Bowl gusting upwards of about 45 miles per hour. Delta Junction, 55 mile per hour winds. Even areas of the slope have seen some of those gusty conditions, but the core of those winds have been from the Aleutians to the Gulf of Alaska here in South Central through the Alaska range. As far as what we're going to see today, some spotty activity can't be ruled out. Largely expecting dry conditions, though, with a return to some sunshine throughout the day. And again, those winds will subside this morning with quieter conditions taking hold this afternoon, and we could see a brief uptick in those winds later this afternoon into the evening hours, but largely expecting most of those winds to subside later this morning. So you can see some coastal activity still remaining, some rain, if not some areas of wintry mix through Prince William Sound. There's that sunshine returning throughout the day. And then as we welcome in our Tuesday, we're also going to see another stretch of some quiet weather staying with us. Clouds will increase through the day tomorrow. While we are on the dry side, this is our next storm system we're watching, which will bring the return to widespread rain and some winds back across South Central from Tuesday night on into Wednesday. Those winds will increase, and then you can see as we welcome in the day Wednesday, we're expected to see some widespread activity. So drying out today across South Central. Those winds subside. Tuesday will be dry, and then that rain makes a return as we welcome in our middle of the week. Temperatures today certainly expected to remain on the warmer side, reflecting more of that springtime warmth as we climb back into the low to mid 40s. We've got 47 degrees in Talkeetna, as well as Wasilla, as well as Palmer. You can see those winds gusting anywhere from 25 to 30 miles per hour for you. Here in Anchorage, those winds gusting up to 35 miles per hour as they continue to subside this morning. And again, that high wind warning does expire at 6 a.m. There's 45 degrees for your Tuesday. Chance for some rain arrives Wednesday into Thursday. And we'll also see the return to some of those gusty conditions by the middle of the week.
All right. Thanks, Aaron. Senator Dan Sullivan is raising the idea of reopening the former naval base on Adak, the westernmost municipality in the United States. He cites growing military concerns over China and Russia and says top commanders support the move.
This is a really important strategic piece of real estate that now we can set up subs, surface warfare ships, and aircraft to jump them when they're coming into our territory much, much quicker.
Senator Sullivan says there's support from the state of Alaska, the Aleut Corporation, and high-ranking Navy officials. The Aleut Corporation has not yet responded to a request for comment. Sullivan hopes a workable plan will take shape within the next 2 weeks. Juneau now has a new title, Coast Guard City. According to an announcement on Senator Sullivan's Facebook page, the capital becomes the 32nd city in the nation to receive the designation, recognizing its strong and lasting support for Coast Guard members and their families. The honor comes from the Commandant of the U.S. Coast Guard and celebrates Juneau's partnerships, community events, and decades of commitment to service members stationed in the region. It's a designation that lasts 5 years and reflects a bond that's even longer. In Fairbanks, more than 550 people gathered Friday night to honor those who serve. The 55th annual Military Appreciation Banquet recognized a dozen service members stationed in the interior, along with 2 local civilians. Speakers included General Kevin Schneider, commander of Pacific Air Forces, and Senators Lisa Murkowski and Dan Sullivan. Sullivan, a Marine Corps veteran, praised Fairbanks as the 4th pillar of America's military strength.
And that 4th pillar is strong, incredible communities that support our military, and there is no stronger pillar than that in Fairbanks and interior Alaska. So this is the 4th pillar right here of America's military might. It is all of you, and that is fantastic. Think about it.
The Military Appreciation Banquet was first created by Fairbanks resident and veteran Jim Messer in the 1960s. This morning, markets are reacting to more tariff whiplash. Over the weekend, the president announced smartphones, computers, and other tech devices were exempt from the 125% tariff on Chinese imports. Alice Barr has the latest details from Washington.
This morning, more tariff turmoil. The Trump administration's surprise move exempting tech devices like smartphones and computers from punishing 125% tariffs on Chinese imports, though a 20% levy remains, giving stock markets an early boost, even as President Trump suggested the reprieve would be short-lived, with new tariffs coming on imported semiconductors.
Like we did with steel, like we did with automobiles, like we did with aluminum, which are now fully on. We'll be doing that with semiconductors, with chips.
The president saying details would come over the next week, and the Commerce Secretary said smartphones and computers would be included in those new sector tariffs, also touting upcoming tariffs on pharmaceuticals.
We need our medicines and we need semiconductors and our electronics to be built in America.
The uncertainty over when import taxes could hit and how much they'll force prices up, setting American consumers on edge.
I feel like I shouldn't have to be checking the news every single day to make sure I can afford products that we've all been kind of accustomed to.
As small businesses that import from China stock up early to head off price spikes.
So they just kept exponentially growing, and so it's been really a nightmare.
Those signs of economic stress raising concerns among forecasters like investor Ray Dalio, who predicted the 2008 financial crisis.
I think that right now we are at a decision-making point and very close to a recession. And I'm worried about something worse than a recession if this isn't handled well.
As the Trump administration urges calm. Today at the White House, President Trump is hosting the president of El Salvador amid a fight over the migrants the Trump administration deported to a mega prison in that country. And one in particular who the administration admits was mistakenly deported but has not been returned to the U.S. despite court orders to take steps to bring him back. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Running in Hawaii is a far cry from Soldotna, but it did slow down Morgan Aldridge. The 43-year-old Alaskan just returned from the Big Island, where she competed in the Lava Man Duathlon, skipping the swim but dominating the run and bike legs. Aldridge clocked the fastest overall time across all age groups, beating every man and woman in the field with a time of 2 hours, 19 minutes, and 53 seconds. She prepped for the heat by turning up her own and says she's already eyeing her next race.
Thanks for listening to our podcast. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcasts from Alaska's news source automatically and stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's news source app.